Good evening out there, Facebook and YouTube groups following the Rocky Mountain Sports Report page. I am Scott Cole coming at you guys live with our Fantasy Blitz coverage for the NFL football season. Week 1 is done and over. We had we had a lot of upsets. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm already going to put this up here. The Week 1 pick'em results are pretty bad as I went, I believe, 7-9 on my picks, so I'm less than 500 on my picks already to start off this pick'em season. Boy, that was terrible. NFC and AFC West divisions both go undefeated in Week 1. All teams in their divisions having pretty solid games. As I'll recap for you guys real quick. The Broncos went on the road to play the New York Giants on Sunday morning and won their game 23-17 or 27-13, I believe, was the final score on that one. Chargers took on the Washington football team and won there. Ryan Fitzpatrick left that game with a hip subluxation. He is on short-term IR and expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Seattle Seahawks dominated the Indianapolis Colts. Who else we got? Arizona Cardinals went in and tore things up in Tennessee. Titans could not get anything going. Derrick Henry was shut down that game. 49ers tore up the Detroit Lions, even though the Lions tried to mount a comeback there. Chiefs got down early to the Cleveland Browns, but came back and won in fantastic fashion. The LA Rams beat up on the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football, and the Ravens, even though they held on early, lost in overtime to the Las Vegas Raiders, who were hosting for the first time at Allegiant Stadium, and took home the win in overtime on that game. I think that's everybody. Yes. I think I nailed everybody on that one. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. We are presented to you by Chavez Customs. Brought to you in part by Chavez Customs LLC, located right here in Denver, Colorado. Chavez Customs LLC can personalize hats, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, keychains, cups, mugs, water bottles, bumper stickers, much, much more to meet your personal desires. Head on over to their Facebook page and check out all the awesome designs and products that they have. We send a hearty thank you to the Chavez Customs teams in creating our Rocky Mountain Sports Report merchandise. If you're interested in purchasing any of our gear, reach out to Matt Staffiero for more information. Let's dive into it, guys. Fantasy was quiet. It was quite the week. We started off hot on Thursday night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys going at it. And I predicted this game to be a blowout with the Tampa Bay defense stifling the Dallas Cowboys. And this game turned into a shootout to start off. And I have to say, what an amazing game that was. Final score in that one, if I can pull it up. Hold on. Not trying to listen to that nonsense right there. Stats and highlights, schedule, scores. There we go. Let's check out the scores from Week 1. It is not showing me anything there, so I guess we'll just shut that down and go over here to the other side of things. Buccaneers held on to beat the Cowboys 31-29. I mean, this game had it all to start off. If you had Tom Brady or Dak Prescott in your starting lineup, then you were right. I mean, these guys both went off for fantastic scores in most leagues. And I have it listed right here. Top 5 QBs. I got to find my QBs real quick. Top 10 QBs, yeah, right there. Kyler Murray, 33.56. But you go down the list. Prescott in standard leagues across ESPN fantasy leagues, 27.42, and Brady at 27.16, well above what J-Rock and I both listed as. If you can get 15 to 20 points out of everybody in your starting lineup, you're going to win most of your games. So they're well above that. Other standouts of the week, Kyler Murray and that Arizona offense just tore up the Tennessee Titans, and Murray went off for, I think, 4 or 5 touchdowns, 2 to Hopkins, 2 to Christian Kirk, ran one in for himself. Very, very great week if you had Kyler Murray. Patrick Mahomes is always a top quarterback week in, week out, went up to 33.28. I think some of the surprises on this, one of the big surprises on this one was Jameis Winston coming in at 29.62 points. He only put up 148 yards passing in this game, but absolutely went off this week for 5 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers in Jacksonville. It was a neutral site, well, supposedly a neutral site. Aaron Rodgers has not had the best of success in Jacksonville in the humidity and everything, so did not do him very well. I apologize to our YouTube friend who chimed in. Hey, should I start Prescott over Rodgers, I think was the question, or Brady over Rodgers, or no, I think it was Prescott over Rodgers. And J-Rock and I both gave you the information of starting Rodgers, thinking he had a better matchup because we were both on board with the Tampa Bay defense dominating things, but that secondary left a lot to be desired moving forward. Matt Stafford showed off with the LA Rams. Cooper Kupp had a couple of great touchdown catches. Same thing with Russell Wilson in Seattle against the Indianapolis Colts, 27.06. Again, these are standard leagues for ESPN stats that I have listed up here for you guys. I loved what I saw, the connection with Tyler Lockett. I think a few of us predicted him to be one of our sleeper picks, a wide receiver this past week. I was wrong on a couple of other ends with running back room and stuff like that, but we'll dive into that here shortly. Fantasy leaders at the receiver position, Amari Cooper, 38.9. He went off for quite a bit, 13 receptions, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns on 16 targets. So, I mean, what a showing for Amari Cooper. But CeeDee Lamb was right there with him, 7 receptions for 104 yards, 1 touchdown. His long was 31. The running game for Dallas and Tampa Bay didn't do a whole lot. I mean, you had 60 total yards for Dallas rushing, Ezekiel Elliott with 33 of that, and Leonard Fournette for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 32 of their 52 rushing yards. This was a showdown between the quarterbacks. Prescott, 391 yards on 58 attempts, 42 completions, and Brady, 32 completions on 50 attempts for 379, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You're going to overlook the interceptions in this game because that was just phenomenal showing. Otherwise, some of the other matchups throughout the week, you have to be impressed with what Pittsburgh's defense did to Buffalo. A lot of us felt that Buffalo was going to come out and offensively dominate that game. The Jets versus Carolina game wasn't as high scoring as we thought, but Carolina did come out on top. Christian McCaffrey had a day both in the rushing and passing. So anybody who has Christian McCaffrey, he is back in form. He looks healthy. He looks ready to carry your team to victory week in and week out. So congratulations to those who had the first overall pick in their drafts. If you had him in a dynasty league, he's back again. He's going to carry your team once again. So he's a must start in every single week. The Chargers held on against the Washington football team for 20-16 win. Like I said, Arizona 38-13 to Tennessee. Derrick Henry got kept in check. And I know a lot of people are going to start freaking out. Have the Tennessee Titans been figured out? What's going on there? But we'll dive into that in just a sec. Other wide receivers that had a great game, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, we both called them out. Sterling Shepard had that 1 touchdown for the New York Giants as he got away from Patrick Surtain, the rookie for the Denver Broncos, on a crossing route and ran it in for a touchdown. His biggest point of the game, I think he got over 20 points in most standardized leagues. Cooper Kupp for the LA Rams, like I said, had a couple touchdowns. The surprise for me was how well Tom Brady spread the ball around on his offense, as both Antonio Brown, who looks to be back in his wide receiver 1 type form. I haven't heard a lot from him on Twitter or anything else. Looks like he's here to play football, and he's done being the fool that he was a couple seasons ago. And Chris Godwin both put up fantastic numbers in that Cowboys-Buccaneers game. Antonio Brown, 5 receptions, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, with his longest being that 47-yard touchdown strike. Chris Godwin, 9 yards, 105 with 1 touchdown, along with 24. Not to be outdone in the receiving category is Rob Gronkowski, 8 receptions, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of those being at the goal line, which begs the question for tight ends, and we'll get into that right now, as he was our number 1 scoring tight end of the week 1. Do we see Robert Gronkowski continuing this success? Is he a legitimate number 1 starter right now? That's the question I have, because he was on my bench. I left 29 points on my bench with him in my league, where my team name is Party Like a Gronk Star. So now I have to ask myself the question: is Rob Gronkowski worth starting moving forward? And I guess you kind of have to look into his upcoming matchups. This week 2 matchup is they're hosting the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm slowly leaning that direction towards wanting to start him, and I might just have to go that direction. Other tight ends making amazing games is Waller last night for the Vegas Raiders, TJ Hawkinson for Detroit, Travis Kelce is always going to be up there. Juwan Johnson was a surprise here for the New Orleans Saints, as he got in there at 17.1. Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, and O'Shaughnessy all getting in there in the top 10 right there. So it's amazing to see. Anybody who took Juwan Johnson as one of their starting tight ends in any of their fantasy leagues, brilliant, savvy move by you. That's one that flew way under my radar. I did not see him coming up and doing anything there. So it was interesting to see there. As for running backs, top 5 in running backs, like I said, Christian McCaffrey, 27.7, Jared Cook, 25 points, Jason Williams for the I believe it's Williams for the no, that's a different Williams. That was the Detroit. Detroit had both their running backs up here, with Williams and DeAndre Swift getting 25 to 24 points each. Most of that came in the later half of the game, when they really started trying to push and catch up with the Los Angeles Rams. It was quite entertaining to see. Let me see if I can pull up the rest of the numbers here for you guys. Jamal Williams, 9 carries, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 11 and 39. But if you look over on the other side of the ball here, DeAndre Swift had 8 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown, and Jamal Williams 8 for 56, no touchdowns. So they both became relevant on both sides of the ball, as TJ Hawkinson was the top receiver for the Detroit Lions, 8 receptions, 97 yards. So early on, it's looking like Detroit's going to lean pretty heavy on their backfield and their tight ends for to move the ball a little bit. So I would definitely keep an eye on that there. I wasn't high on TJ Hawkinson. I was kind of a little iffy on DeAndre Swift, just because of the running back by committee there. But it looks like Detroit's going to run with both of them and make them both fairly relevant. So maybe you can run a tight end with Hawkinson and one of those guys in a flex, or if you really want to try and push your luck, run all 3. But that's leaning pretty heavily on one team there. It might be good for like flex options if you're doing like DraftKings DraftKings things. What's going on, Kenny? Thanks for joining the show, man. I know you can't come on live, but feel free to comment if you have any thoughts or comments on anything I might be talking about. DraftKings, FanDuel, sportsbooks, apps like that, where you can pick fantasy relevant players, make your daily lineups and stuff like that. I feel like Hawkinson, Williams, and DeAndre Swift might be sneaky picks for those flex positions, especially if they're fairly cheap. If you're looking for a cheap pick week in, week out. Other running backs with some fantasy relevance: Montgomery, or 15-plus points. Montgomery, Tyson Williams, Kamara, Taylor, Sanders. Sanders impressed me. He was one of my sleeper picks. I had Kareem Hunt, Henderson for the Los Angeles Rams. I honestly felt that it was going to be the Sony Michel show, but Henderson came out and proved to be the number 1 back in there. Kenny, just shoot your questions out when you want, man. We'll get to them when we can. And then Elijah Mitchell for the San Francisco 49ers was active. He was another rookie out of the class. I believe he was taken 6th overall this year. I have to double check that. I don't want to get those stats completely wrong for you guys. But as Trey Sermon was inactive for the game, new stats bios on Elijah Mitchell. Yep, 2021 6th round pick, 194th overall to San Francisco. They liked him better out of training camp and everything. So they went with him being active. And he looks to be the favorite there since Raheem Mostert is now out, as he reported on Twitter earlier today that he is undergoing season-ending knee surgery and is no longer going to be available to the San Francisco 49ers. So another running back by committee. This has always been a Kyle Shanahan operation, RBC. It's what he does. You got Elijah Mitchell, who seems to be the number one there. I think we'll see Trey Sermon active next week, and he'll probably get some carries. But for now, it's the Elijah Mitchell show. So if you can get in and you can grab him on your waiver wire, he is definitely a waiver wire pickup in my book, especially with a run-heavy offense that the San Francisco 49ers are going to run. And week 2 looks to be a solid matchup for them as they – let's check the list here. San Francisco is going to Philadelphia 11 a.m. on Sunday, playing at Philadelphia. So I expect them to be having a stout defensive showing and run the ball once they get up. So I could see both those, especially Elijah Mitchell, having a good game. As far as his stats yesterday, pull that up because I always want to back this stuff up with stats for you guys as much as I possibly can. Here we go. Box score for that. You had Elijah Mitchell on 19 carries. So Raheem Mostert went down early. He only had 2 carries, 20 yards. 19 carries, 104 yards, 1 touchdown. So definitely something to look into there. Oh, let's see. The week 2 projections. I'm busting through some stuff pretty quick because it's just me right now. Just me today, guys. So please. Top 5 defenses. Let's just take a look at this stuff right here, guys. Top 5 defenses were not who we thought they were going to be. The Arizona Cardinals, 17 points, went up and just beat the snot out of the Tennessee Titans. I don't think anybody saw that coming. That was one of the big upsets of the week for me. The New Orleans Saints, again, dominating Green Bay, another huge underdog upset right there. Pittsburgh Steelers did fairly well, shutting down Josh Allen. Josh Allen was a little rusty, wasn't quite connecting with people, but part of that had to do with the front line of the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of pushing and just pushing him off his marks and everything else. So that was a plus. Carolina Panthers did really well against the New York Jets. I take that one with a grain of salt right there. And the Philadelphia Eagles did fairly well with a 9-point showing. These were the top 5 according to ESPN standard drafts, or standard leagues, I should say. In those matchups, the Cardinals in week 2 are taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Chandler Jones was super impressive for the Arizona Cardinals. 5 sacks total. He's number 1 defense. Currently leads in sacks with 5. Von Miller's tied with a couple of other people at 2. Do we see Arizona Cardinals repeating this 17-point outing that they had for their defense special teams? Personally, no, not against the Minnesota team. Then again, Minnesota did struggle against the Cincinnati Bengals, which I had Cincinnati winning their game. I didn't expect it to take overtime, but that was an impressive win for Cincinnati, and just a terrible loss for Minnesota there. So Minnesota's supposed to have a stout defense. Arizona looks to show that they are dominant as well. J.J. Watt's down there, Chandler Jones, everybody else. So I think they could have a 9 to 10 point outing, all things said and done. But I don't see them blowing out or having as many sacks as they did this past week. New Orleans Saints in week 2 are at Carolina, taking on the Carolina Panthers. Again, if they can contain Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously an RB1 going right off the bat, I would keep it all. I would keep it there. Victor Munoz here saying Denver will and Vaughn will be on attack mode all season. I mean, Von Miller's on attack mode. He's going to be on attack mode. Contract year for him. Hopefully we see Bradley Chubb coming back soon and his ankle's not as big an issue as we think it is. And we'll see what's going to happen. Awesome question here, Kenny. Are any of the big 3 rookie wide receivers worth starting right now as a WR2? That's Jamar Chase, Smith, or Waddle. I mean, they all had a touchdown, and I like what they've done. If anybody right now, honestly, I love what I saw with Jamar Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals. Like Kenny's got right here, 5 receptions, 101 yards. But I wouldn't call him a WR2. I would call him a flex option. I would call all of them a potential flex option right now, simply because I think 1 week of real-time action is not enough to base them on. The one person I do see with upside here is Jamar Chase. He played against what was supposed to be a revamped defense in the Minnesota Vikings and torched them. He's the long ball option for Joe Burrow there. They had that LSU connection. They've played together before. So I firmly believe that they are going to figure things out, and Jamar Chase is going to have a higher ceiling. So if any of them is, I would say Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle, I think you got a little more to figure out there. He should have had a pretty decent day against the Patriots defense. Matt Gesicki got shut down, as that's what the Patriots do. They shut down tight ends on a pretty consistent basis and force you to throw those outside receivers and those slot receivers. A little more chemistry between Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa, and I think it could be explosive. Smith had a pretty good showing too, and I believe that was with Philly. With Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts, I really like what I saw there. That was an entertaining game to watch from beginning to end. As I was sitting there drinking my beers at Buffalo Wild Wings, I like what I saw. I think he's worth a flex option right now. I don't think he's quite wide receiver 2 ready, but flex I think is a good position starting out, and then. If we can get to week 8 and they're consistent, week 7 or 8, and they're still healthy and they're putting up these numbers, then I would definitely consider moving them to that wide receiver 2 slot, or a possible trade piece if you're looking for help in other positions, running back, tight end groups, something like that, and somebody's looking for a little oomph in their receiver room on their fantasy rosters. So yeah, 100%. I like those 3 rookies. I hope they're able to continue what they did in week 1 and really blow people away. Some injury. So let's see, injury news right here. Ryan Fitzpatrick is out with the hip subluxation for the Washington football team. Taylor Heinicke is now the starting quarterback. They did sign offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur's son to their practice squad, and hopefully they don't have to dive into him. There's been, we talked about it on the Rocky Mountain Sports Report group page and messenger chat. Could we potentially see Cam Newton reunite with Ron Rivera? A little iffy there. I don't know if Ron Rivera is quite ready for a reunion like that, but I mean, this would be the most opportune time for somebody like Cam Newton to come in and fight for that starting quarterback role if there was going to be an opportunity there. Back to our defensive showings here real quick. Pittsburgh Steelers are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 2. This is another West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. AFC had a couple teams over on the East Coast with the Chargers and the Broncos. Both of them were victorious. Can the Raiders repeat that look? Based off of what I saw of the Raiders last night, I really like the Raiders' chances with Darren Waller, but I know the Pittsburgh Steelers team was watching that too, and now they got a little bit of film and they see what's going on. I like the Steelers' defense a lot better than I do like Baltimore's defense, so I think the Steelers could have another solid showing. I don't think it's going to be quite 13. It might be around that 13-point mark again. I'm putting them at about 10 points. In Week 2 for the defense special teams. Carolina Panthers, 11 points in their win over the New York Jets. They're going against the New Orleans Saints, who looked godlike against the Green Bay for some reason. And again, this is another game that's being held in Jacksonville. Carolina Panthers should be used to the humidity. The big difference between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Jets is Sam Darnold's been in the league longer than Zach Wilson. You actually have a running back in Carolina with Christian McCaffrey, and you have some solid receiver options. Robbie Anderson's very dangerous. He's always a flex option for a lot of leagues, and the defense of the Panthers is a little more stout and I think just a tiny amount. I'm not saying they're massively better than the New York Jets, but I think the Saints are going to have their handful in this one, and I've actually picked the Panthers to win this game on the road. The Philadelphia Eagles had 9 points in Week 1 in their matchup. Can they repeat that success against the San Francisco 49ers? Possible. The big question in Philadelphia is, who do you have? Fletcher Cox and a few others. I don't think they're going to have it as easy the second time around. Week 1, they had their pick of they won their matchup against a bad Falcons team. 32-6. Matt Ryan has Calvin Ridley and a few other pieces, but there's nothing solid there. I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson was your top rusher, 7 carries for 54 yards. Mike Davis, 15 for 49. Calvin Ridley had five receptions for 51 yards. Kyle Pitts, 3 for 31. Hurst, 4 for 28. Mike Davis, 3 for 23. List goes on and on and on. They only had a total of 164 yards passing, and looks like 288 yards total on offense for the Atlanta Falcons. San Francisco is going to do more than that. They're going to have more than 288 yards of offense, during this game, as they have a pretty significant rushing attack. A couple rookies, but Elijah Mitchell is going to be a potential weapon, and Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and that San Francisco wide receiver group are gonna take it to the Falcons a little bit more than what the New York Jets did. Those are your top 5 defenses. Let's take a look at what Week 2 has in store, what the projections are for the top 10 at each position, starting with our quarterback group. Of course, Patrick Mahomes leads the group. He's on the road at Baltimore. Again, if Derek Carr can tear apart the Baltimore defense, Patrick Mahomes is going to do that. Patrick Mahomes has a better set of weapons. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Mecole Hardman, who we didn't see a whole lot of in Week 1, didn't really need to. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, the weapons are there. And the Kansas City has a little bit better defense than what Vegas has. So I look forward to seeing, that's another Sunday Night Football matchup. 2 big names in the AFC. But I think Mahomes is going to win this battle once again. Josh Allen, not Jake Allen. Sorry, different Allen. Josh Allen hits the road with the Buffalo Bills heading down to Miami. This is a bigger task for the Miami Dolphins to handle than what they did with the New England Patriots. You have somebody who's in the fourth year of his system with Josh Allen. Even though he looked terrible, I expect they're going to correct all those issues and come out hungry for a win against the Miami Dolphins. This is a division matchup. Josh Allen does not want to go down 0-2 to start the season, even though it is a 17-game season. So I expect Josh Allen to do well in this game. Will he be a top 10 quarterback? I believe so. Kyler Murray versus Minnesota. I'm going to say this. If Joe Burrow, who's coming off an ACL injury, can move enough to give himself enough time to find his receivers, to find Jamar Chase downfield for an amazing touchdown pass, Kyler Murray can definitely do that and do it with more finesse. So I firmly believe you're going to see Kyler Murray put on another show and jump out early in this MVP talk or Offensive Player of the Year talk for the NFC against a Minnesota defense that looked very childish against the Cincinnati Bengals, a team which they should have beat, and most people have picked to beat. I picked Cincinnati to win. Don't ask me why. It happened. Lamar Jackson versus Kansas City Chiefs. Jackson struggled against the Las Vegas Raiders. Simple fact being, his running backs room is scrambling to learn a playbook and get everything down. Tyson Williams did great in what he did. Latavius Murray has some catching up to do. I expect they're going to activate Le'Veon Bell or somebody else in the room with three running backs. They're going to have to figure something out. Mark Andrews got shut down. If Mark Andrews can get open, I think it's going to be better for Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson needs to spread the ball. His offensive line needs to play better in front of him. And he can't do it all himself. That's what he tried to do yet last night, and it did not work out for him. Dak Prescott versus the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium coming up. I like what I see in that one. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Yeah, Kenny, you're right, man. And Justin Herbert's on the other side of that against Dallas. It's going to be an interesting game. I can't wait to see it. If the Chargers can shut down Dak Prescott like Tampa Bay did, this game's going to favor the Chargers for sure. I just don't know if that's going to happen. And what I saw Dak Prescott against Tampa Bay and Tampa Bay's supposedly top 5 defense, I'm actually taking Dallas in the matchup against the Chargers. But I think both quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott, are going to be fantasy relevant this week. You're going to run with either one of them if you got them. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw in Tampa Bay. It's going to be a back and forth passing type attack game. And last person with the ball, last person to put up points is going to win this game as well. Aaron Rodgers versus Detroit. In this game, man, I tell you, Aaron Rodgers, he is not prone to losing 2 games badly and being a bad fantasy pick 2 weeks in a row. So I have to run with Rodgers being in the top 10 conversation this upcoming week against Detroit, which got lit up on the run, on the ground game quite a bit. But I firmly believe Rodgers is really gonna take it to his receivers. They're gonna talk things through, and they're gonna get on the same page, solid this week, and go for it. Russell Wilson versus the Tennessee Titans at Seattle, 12th man in effect for the Seattle Seahawks in this one. They're going to go and they're going to dominate again. Russell Wilson looks to be back in MVP form after what we saw in week 1. Hopefully he'll have a repeat of performance here and just knock some socks off of people with his receivers. Tyler Lockett, again, looks like to be a favorite. Metcalf did okay from what I think Metcalf did all right. Let's check the scores on that one there against the Colts. Tyler Lockett, 4 receptions, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 4 for 60 with 1 touchdown right there. So Metcalf is still fantasy relevant there. Russell Wilson, 18 of 23. Talk about being efficient for 254 yards total. Got sacked 3 times for 13 yards. A QBR of 84.6, overall rating of 152.3. So amazing performance by Russell Wilson, hands down. And last quarterback on the top 10 projected points list. Excuse me a second while I walk and talk at the same time. Is you got Jalen Hurts against the San Francisco 49ers. Hurts and the Eagles look pretty good. Jalen looks to be that scramble quarterback that he was in college. He's got a pretty young receiving core and looks to do pretty well with that. So if we can see consistent performances like that, I think Hurts is going to be fantasy relevant. He's also prone to take off and run the ball himself, so he'll get you some points with his feet as well, similar to what Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are capable of as well. As for our running back group, Christian McCaffrey leads the group going up against the New Orleans Saints in Week 2. Dalvin Cook of the Minnesota Vikings playing at Arizona against Kyler Murray and the Arizona defense. This is going to be an interesting one. I know the Minnesota Vikings are going to look at that game film against the Tennessee Titans and see what Arizona did to contain Derrick Henry in that rushing attack, which was supposed to be with a solid offensive line, and see what they can do different to try and get Cook out there. Cook seems to have the fresher legs than Henry, so I don't see it being as much of an issue. And Cook does catch the ball out of the backfield. So I expect them to kind of bounce him out, screen plays and whatnot to try and get him involved more in the game. Alvin Kamara up against Carolina. Another, again, will be fantasy relevant, both running and receiving there. So I don't see any issues in starting him there. Damian Harris versus Las Vegas. Who is hauled up? I have to figure out what I put there. I have to figure out what's going on right there. Fantasy football rankings week 2. Running backs. Naji Harris. Sorry, I didn't remember which Harris I was talking about. Jeez. Naji Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. He didn't look all that comfortable in this offensive scheme that the Pittsburgh Steelers were running against the Buffalo Bills. And I firmly believe what I saw out of the Las Vegas Raiders last night is pretty telling that their defensive front is a beast and it's going to be difficult for them to deal with. So I honestly don't see Naji Harris being a top 10 running back. I don't know why he's listed this high here. Yeah, he's listed 7th overall PPR running according to the ESPN analysts. His lowest is 8th, it looks like. So going to be interesting there. I just don't feel as comfortable with him going against Vegas in that front that we saw last night. Nick Chubb versus the Houston Texans. Chubb did very well against Kansas City. I see Houston not putting up much of a fight there. So I firmly believe that you can put Chubb. Chubb's not going to be an issue. I would run with Chubb all day. Austin Eckler. Yeah, like Kenny said here, this could be a Big Ben 4-touchdown type game. Working with his receiver group right there. I honestly just don't like Naji Harris and what he can do. Now, if we see a different Naji Harris where he's actually operating out of the backfield as a receiver, some screen passes, stuff like that, then 100% Naji Harris is going to have a good day. But that you got to get him out from behind that offensive line somehow. And if you can't do that, Naji Harris is gonna struggle. Austin Eckler versus the Dallas Cowboys. Again, I struggle with this one. I like Eckler better than I like Leonard Fournette and whatnot that Dallas faced with Tampa Bay last week. Dallas, it could be an interesting game. I think Eckler puts up some points. I think he has a hard time touching 15, 16 points. I hope he proves me wrong because he is in a couple of my leagues. But it's definitely going to be interesting. Antonio Gibson for the Washington football team, I think is going to. I see him having an uptick, even against the New York Giants with their defensive front. The Broncos did pretty well, putting significant yardage on the ground in their matchup, as Melvin Gordon had 11 carries for 101 yards. Javonte Williams 14 carries for 45 for a total of 165 yards against that front. So I think Antonio Gibson's going to do pretty well. I'd give him the benefit of the doubt right there. Yeah, Matt here saying, I have Herbert in almost every league and need a bounce back. He put up, I think it was 17 points average across ESPN Fantasy Standard, ESPN Fantasy Leagues. I think I had him in one of my leagues. He put up like 17.8, 17.9. So definitely wasn't his best showing, considering a lot of quarterbacks showed up in this first week and really took it to some other teams and put up massive points. Looking at you, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, who's available in most leagues. Derek Carr is an available quarterback. Not all the people like the Vegas Raiders quarterback, but if you're looking for consistent points, might be somebody to look at. Carson of the Seattle Seahawks going up against Tennessee. Carson had a decent game. It wasn't terrible, wasn't great. And this matchup, I don't know if I can trust him enough to want to put him out there. Total of 16 carries, 91 yards. Did not get into the end zone. Average of 5.7 yards per carry. So, like I said, not terrible, not great. I don't think he had any. I don't think he did anything as far as receiving yards go. Let me double check that real quick. Oh yeah, he had 3 catches, 26 yards. So that's 5.6 points in the PPR leagues right there if you're looking at it, but wasn't necessarily something I would. Kenny's right. Rashad Penny did get hurt, so Carson is a good pickup if you want him. RB2, RB3 category for me personally, and Kenny also. I'm licking my chops, Matt. Dallas can't stop anyone. The argument being, well, they did stop Tampa Bay. That's not really an argument. Tampa Bay is more about their passing attack than they are their rushing game. So we'll wait and see if Dallas can actually stop anybody, because I don't count Tampa Bay. Who else we got? We got Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts going up against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to say yikes on this one, guys. Montgomery did put up some decent yards against the Rams, I believe, but it wasn't all that impressive. Chicago really struggling. I think we'll see Justin Fields before long. David Montgomery got 106 yards or 108 yards on 16 carries and a touchdown. So Taylor and the Colts, he could put up some decent numbers. It's not high on my list for fantasy purposes, but if he's one of your running backs, he'll get you decent numbers. Receivers for week 2, you got Tyreek Hill against Baltimore, Calvin Ridley against Tampa Bay. I would take Hill any day against Baltimore. Baltimore had a couple good passes defensed, so that's something to look at. Calvin Ridley didn't show a lot for me in a favorable matchup against Philly, so something to be seen. Do I like Aaron Jones this week against? I think they're playing Detroit. Week 2. Green Bay is. Sorry, I got to look at the list. Yeah, they're at Green Bay against Detroit. Yeah, Aaron Jones, I could see him being a little more active this week and doing you well compared to what he did this week, for sure. Because he didn't get a lot. He didn't get a lot of chances as they fell behind late. Aaron Jones only had 5 carries for 9 yards. Detroit rushing. They let the San Francisco 49ers run all over them. Mike Williams versus Dallas. Yes, Matt, I am all about that as well. Williams had a pretty good performance as well, so I would definitely take that and run with it right there. Again, I'm just listing the top 10 listed according to ESPN standard leagues. If you have any questions about certain players against certain teams, happy to give my input. Do not crucify me if it doesn't work out in your favor, because I'm not the expert. I'm not the total expert. This is me giving my opinion, my advice on things fantasy sport. I'm not the guru all the time. I get things wrong quite a bit. Hence my 7-9 pick'em record there, Matt. So something to take in. Lamar Jackson versus KC or Bridgewater versus Jacksonville. Oh, David, man. Honestly, I have to go with steady Teddy Bridgewater on this one. Lamar Jackson, I think, like I spoke about earlier, he's got a lot on his plate. I don't know if the rushing attack's always going to be there for him. He's got Tyson Williams. He's got Latavius Murray. They looked a wreck last night. Lamar Jackson looked a little stressed, trying to carry the whole team on his back. Most of that depends on if you can get Mark Andrews open. If Mark Andrews is open, that takes up some pressure off of Marquise Brown and some of the other receivers, Duvernay and some of the others. So it all depends. But if I had to pick one right now, hands down, I'm going with Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos offensive core versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, if Houston can do what they did to Jacksonville, I'd hate to see what the Broncos are capable of. And we'll get to see that sooner or not. Jared Cook could be a top 3 tight end. Gronk looked like Gronk from 10 years ago against Dallas. Yes, I said that as much when I started my show. I have Gronkowski on my bench because I started Mark Andrews over Gronk, and I am fully leaning towards starting Gronk because he looks like a true tight end of TE1 in this Tampa Bay offense. That, and I think O.J. Howard only got 6 targets in the game. So I really like how Gronkowski looked. Jared Cook looked pretty solid as well. I'm really high on both those guys. So we'll see how that continues to play out there. Where was I? Yeah, we got DeAndre Hopkins against Minnesota. Yes, I'm going to take that every single day. Diggs against Miami, another favorable matchup. DK Metcalf versus Tennessee. Again, I like what DK Metcalf did. He did get some points and everything, but I would roll Tyler Lockett over Metcalf again this week. But that could come back and backfire on me because usually if Metcalf has a great week, it's Lockett the next week. If Lockett has a great week, it goes Metcalf the following week. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, but Russell Wilson's got plenty of targets to throw to. Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers against Dallas should have a good day. So will Williams and that receiver core for Los Angeles Chargers as they both put up quality numbers in their Week 1 matchup against the Washington Football Team. Robinson of the Chicago Bears versus Cincinnati. That's a solid matchup. He had a great week against the Rams, even though they lost. It was a good game. I actually enjoyed that one. Let me see if I can pull up his stats for you real quick here. Yeah, Allen Robinson, 6 of 35. Wasn't as great as it could have been, but you had Andy Dalton throwing you. Andy Dalton, Justin Fields was in there for 2 passes. So Andy Dalton, only threw for 206 yards. Once they figure out their quarterback situation and just go with Fields, then I think you'll see them pick up a little bit. So Robinson versus Cincinnati, he should have some upside. Top 10, I don't quite think so. Brown versus Seattle, which this is AJ Brown, I believe, of Tennessee that we're talking about here. Should have a good game, a bounce back game. I don't know what's going on with Julio Jones, if he's in the doghouse for Mike Vrabel or not. But AJ Brown seems to be the favorite there. And Justin Jefferson versus the Arizona Cardinals. Miami can get their stuff together, it's a good matchup. Jefferson was, I believe, kept in check for most of their game against the against the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, Jefferson 5 of 71, no touchdowns. Longest was a 34-yard, targeted 9 times. So I'd be wary there. Adam Thielen was a favorite target there. Nine receptions for 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tight ends going into week 2: Travis Kelce, Jared Waller, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. Hawkinson, Pitts is favored against Tampa. A favorite against Tampa Bay. No. Kyle Pitts, I'm not putting him in my top 5. Noah Fant looked pretty good. I think he should eat again against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Was a favorite target of our boy Teddy Bridgewater there. In that game, we had Noah Fant, 6 catches, 62 receptions. PPR leagues, that's a standard 12.2 points, which isn't that bad for a tight end. You can get to about the 15 to 16, anywhere between like a 13 to 16 mark for a tight end. You're doing pretty good. A touchdown would definitely boosted him up there and put him into the solid tight end 1 category. I think he'll get on the board this week. Moving forward, was this Logan Thomas versus the Giants, I believe? Yes. No, maybe. If I can find out what I'm looking for. New York Giants play. Oh, yes. This Thursday, New York at Washington. Logan Thomas. Taylor Heinicke's in at QB, so we'll see how that happens there. Should you start OBJ versus Houston? My other receivers are Kupp, Debo, and Corey Davis. Humza Mali. No. I don't know what's going on with OBJ. He was inactive in week 1 for the Cleveland Browns. I honestly think the Cleveland Browns offense does a lot better without him there. So I honestly don't know what to tell you. I would keep my eye on that situation. But honestly, I think the receivers that you have, Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel, and Corey Davis, are pretty good. If we look at their week 2 schedules, Cooper Kupp's and the Los Angeles Rams are playing in Indianapolis, so I think you got a favorable matchup there. Their defense is more about stopping the rushing game, so Henderson might have a bit of a trouble. Debo Samuel with the San Francisco 49ers. Again, at Philly, that defense is not that great, and as we saw against Detroit, once San Francisco gets out early, Debo Samuel might not have as much of an impact, but I think he'll have a bigger impact than what OBJ would in Cleveland, because Cleveland's all about that rushing attack, man. And your last one you listed there was Corey Davis. Corey Davis actually had a pretty solid game for the New York Jets against Carolina last week. And they're hosting New England, so I think that's going to be another opportunity for Corey Davis to get plenty of yards. He is one of my sleepers in this upcoming week. Again, Corey Davis is. So Humza Mali, I would run with those 3. I would leave OBJ on my bench. Is there a worse QB RB1 pairing than mine last week? I had Rodgers McCaffrey. Had so much hope. Thanks, Rodgers, come from one of our newest RMSR members, Keith Brugman. McCaffrey is a great choice right there. Aaron Rodgers, it was a fluke, man. It was honestly a fluke right there. And then your next question, Rodgers or Winston in week 2 in a PPR league. Doesn't do much for me as far as running as quarterbacks go. So you've got Rodgers Monday night against Detroit. He should have a pretty good showing. I think that's going to become the Aaron Jones show pretty late in the game. And then you said who else? Jameis Winston in week 2. New Orleans Saints are at Carolina. This could be another good matchup. I know a lot of people are down on Jameis Winston because he, 30 for 30, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, end of 2019, I think. Not 100% sure. I'm looking over the corner of my room like there's a producer that's going to give me the thumbs up like, yeah, you're right. You got it. No, there's nobody there. Honestly, I think you could go with either one. It's going to come down to your gut instinct. So take things into account. That's a super tough decision. Don't give you a coin flip. Okay. Let's take a look. So you've got Green Bay out in the open, hosting Detroit, San Francisco. Both are playing in, or not San Francisco, New Orleans at Carolina. So both are open. A little more humidity in Carolina, but they played in Jacksonville. I'm going to go with Winston on that one. My gut tells me Jameis Winston. He didn't put up a ton of yards, but he did put up 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Aaron Rodgers put up 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, I believe, and was replaced by Jordan Love. I know it's a fluke, but I like what I saw of Jameis Winston, and they're a team with nothing to lose. Nobody really sees them doing anything because Michael Thomas isn't available right now, and they're playing with a bunch of widely unknown receivers, but I think that really does Jameis Winston a favor, and it seems like him and Sean Payton are on the same page, so I would go there. My running backs were Derrick Henry and Naji Harris, but Debo carried me to the win. That's a plus, man. 49ers D or Packers D this week. 49ers, again, are going up against Philadelphia, and the Packers are hosting the Detroit Lions. If you're taking my gut instinct right here, I would probably run with the Niners again, man. They did pretty well against Detroit, but again, Green Bay is playing Detroit. But they should have won last week against the New Orleans Saints, but didn't do that. Will Julio bounce back, or do I go to the bench? Who you got on your bench, Keith? I mean, that's what we really want to know, is who's on the bench there for you moving forward. And while I'm waiting on him to respond to that, across the bottom on our ticker feed, I have a bunch of potential pickups, potential targets for you guys to kind of check out. Elijah Mitchell, running back for San Francisco. Debo Samuel, wide receivers. These are just some of my picks for the upcoming week that I think might do pretty well. Darrell Henderson for the Rams really showed that he is the RB1 in Los Angeles and really deserves it. Mark Ingram of Houston had a pretty good game. Sterling Shepard of the New York Giants seems to be a favorite target of Danny Jones up there, so he looks pretty good. The Washington football team offensive weapons, how well they perform depends on the play of Tyler Heineke. Pick your poison. Antonio Gibson for me is going to be a solid pick week in, week out. The loss of Jerry Jeudy, does it really affect the Denver Broncos wide receiver group? I think you got an awesome group right there. They just called up Kendall Hinton from their practice squad to take the vacant position left by Jerry Jeudy as he was placed on short-term IR. And as I mentioned just a little bit ago, Corey Davis, wide receiver out of New York Jets, looks to be doing pretty well. And I believe he has a very favorable matchup this week as the Jets play host to the New England Patriots. I expect Corey Davis to have a pretty good day. But that's going to do it. Before we get going, I would like to shout out to one of our other sponsors. Willow's Seasonings and Blends here in Colorado is a veteran-owned company that produces amazing rubs and seasonings for all your favorite foods, such as steaks, chicken wings, pork shoulders, corn on the cob, bell peppers, and more. From their feisty lime fajita seasoning, high-elevation salt, pepper, and garlic dry rub, the sweet heat barbecue seasoning and sweet heat barbecue seasonings, or sweet smoke barbecue seasonings, these amazing products will bring a game day impact to anything you want to grill or cook. Don't take my word for it. Get your taste buds in on the action today. Check out Willow Seasonings website for retail locations or order online at willowseasonings.com. This stuff is amazing, guys. I will not lie to you. I love these seasonings and blends put forth by this great company. Jamar Chase, last few. Put in Jamar Chase, but have Campbell and Hamler on the bench. I spoke of this earlier. Jamar Chase is a flex option for me. I liked what I saw between him and Joe Burrow. I expect them to do more of this moving forward and do that. Tim Patrick in my deep sleeper against Jacksonville's poor defense, 100%. I firmly believe Tim Patrick is becoming a favorite target of Teddy's, and with Jerry Jeudy being on the short-term IR, I see that continuing moving forward. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. I unfortunately have to cut you guys short because I have other obligations to go to. If you guys have any further fantasy sports questions, please tag me on the Rocky Mountain Sports Report group page, and I will shoot you back. a message whenever I get a chance. I love talking to you guys about fantasy sports as much as I can. And last thing but not least, if you are looking to join the Fantasy Blitz team, we are more than welcome to have you guys, whether that's football, basketball, baseball, or hockey. We are going to run a show for every fantasy sports league that we possibly can. Basketball and hockey seasons are looking to start up soon, with hockey starting in October, basketball starting up in December. So if you want to get into part of the action and have your voice heard right here on the Fantasy Blitz, reach out to myself, Scott Cole, on Facebook via private message, or Matt Staffiero. Give him a private message, and we'll get you guys on the show for a live audition and see where we can fit you in. Sometimes we need other hosts to run the show when we're not available or somebody's down with the flu or a cold. So reach out to us if you want to join the Fantasy Blitz sports show, and we'll see you guys on another show. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Thank you for the comments. I love having you guys interact with us, and best of luck. We'll probably hop on for a short 30-minute segment on Thursday ahead of the Thursday Night Football League for any additional information on our sleeper picks moving forward. Until then, have a great night, everybody. Stay safe out there and enjoy your week.